I'm back, everybody. I'm Lindsay. If you don't know me, I'm ADHD autistic, and I talk about neurodivergence and trauma healing. In June, I told the internet I was a mental health disaster and needed time off. I was, and I did. I have just returned from a 4-month expedition into the mire of my own fractured psyche, because, to put it bluntly, I fucking hated myself. I couldn't close the gap between the kind of person I would be proud to be and the person I felt capable of being. I'm sure no neurodivergent people relate to that, said Lindsay sarcastically. So I was ashamed of myself and I didn't know how to fix it. So first I redirected all of my energy to one free app, a nonprofit project that I cared about more than my own life, which in the end is exactly why I had to walk away from it. And I dabbled a little bit in socializing in real life. So I spent a lot of time examining the way I interface with different people and situations. And I learned some shit. And have a different perspective now. So let me paint you a perfect before and after picture, with 2 things that happened, one's at the beginning of my break, one's at the end, that really boil it down. First, I had some trauma drama with someone, so I decided to be the bigger person. Take responsibility for my part of it, put everyone else's welfare ahead of my own, and let this person think whatever they wanted to think. The result? I felt horrible. I felt domesticated. Like I ate shit to keep the peace, and set a precedent that I'm willing to eat shit to keep the peace. But then, later on, I had some trauma drama with someone else. But this time, I told them the goddamn truth. I was direct and honest and unapologetic. I thought they were making their problems worse, and I didn't want to hear about it anymore. The result? I felt amazing. I ceased communication with someone who irritated the shit out of me. If I may invoke somewhat abrasive song lyrics, I got 99 problems, but this bitch ain't one. Did wagging my finger at them support their healing journey? Not at all. But I wasn't trying to heal them. I wasn't their crisis support. I was a person who was pissed off and wanted to be left alone. So I allowed myself to be that. And I just participated in the grand circus of creation as a natural, authentic, flawed human animal. All these times I was acting against myself to be the bigger person was just as arrogant as it was unhealthy. Who am I to even say what a bigger person is? I have been trying to live up to a standard I cannot maintain. Even my subconscious goal with all my content has always been to form such a rock-solid, impervious perspective that even if I said whatever the hell I wanted to say, I wouldn't hurt anyone's feelings, which is ridiculous. But I'm not saying that just now, like after a 4-month hiatus, I finally figured out I can't please everyone. It's been much more of a moral dilemma than that. On one hand, I've known for a while that trauma healing is a complex network of highways that have different pit stops. And whether or not a person finds a concept healing or toxic totally depends on where they're at that time on that particular issue. And providing that person a safe space necessitates being respectful of that. But on the other hand, I gotta respect where I am too. Number 1 point of trauma healing, I count. My content is always gonna be at the frontier of my healing. And while I want to put it out there to help like-minded people, it's going to reach people it doesn't help from time to time. So saith the algorithm. And if it doesn't help these people, whether or not they like me, has not been my only concern. It's easy enough to say I don't care whether people like me. But it is much, much harder to say I don't care whether or not I hurt people. Different trauma, different pit stops. There are no one-size-fits-all ideas. And when people don't like us and the comments get nasty, that means we hurt them. We just rationalize our way out of seeing it. Whether we think it should have hurt them doesn't matter. Every time I pissed someone off, I'd say the same shit. Haters gonna hate, block them, protect my peace. Their reaction to me is on them. But that is a bullshit souffle we whip up whenever it's emotionally convenient. When we're the ones who get offended and have the spicy reaction, we sing a totally different tune. That's when we say shit like, so-and-so needs to take responsibility for the impact of their platform. And we post memes that say, blaming me for my reaction to your disrespect is manipulation. Oh, is that what blaming someone for their reaction is? Manipulation? If so, why are we so convinced we're not being manipulative when we tell someone your reaction is on you? Because we think we're right and they're wrong, that's why. It's a straight up double standard. We think it's okay for the good guy to be reactive, but can anyone be that certain that they're the good guy? More to the point, should we really expect other people to know and treat us like we're the good guy? We might know all the facts and statistics. We might have rock-solid, well-thought-out arguments about things like power differentials and thought distortions and feel so fucking righteous. And who knows, we might even really be the good guys. But you know what? Everybody feels that way. Everybody. Everybody with an opinion thinks they've done the math. It's never different. I'm a Fallout fan. War never changes. The point is, there is no definitive line between when it's their responsibility and when it's ours. Because it's all of us. It's all our responsibility. Because we draw our own lines wherever we want. But obviously I'm not saying while on my hiatus I finally learned to rise above all the petty drama and never take sides. On the contrary, more like I finally accept I'm a primate in a t-shirt and I'm never gonna rise above it. I'm not some omniscient god who can look down on all the people and guide them toward doing what's good for them. But that's the standard I was holding myself to. I thought if I was gonna claim I knew so much about trauma that people on the internet should listen to me talk about it, I had to prove that by being a universal safe space for everyone. Why should anyone listen to my opinions about providing safety if I couldn't do it? Obviously, the root of all of this is trauma. I've been pissed at myself for not being the perfect, enlightened person who wouldn't be so angry at her parents, and might be so level-headed and rational she could convince them of all the things that my flawed mortal ass never could. Ugh! I may have said over and over again that I was on TikTok because I wanted to express myself, but no. I was trying to get through to people. That's different. Expressing myself would nurture relationships with people who are aligned with me. Getting through to people is about trying to convince people who aren't aligned with me that they should be. When any comment on TikTok was rude and treated me like I wasn't a one-size-fits-all universal safe space, I'd be like, fuck you, yes I am, you just don't understand. Because the idea that they just didn't understand me, and I just needed to figure out how to explain myself better, were both easier to digest than the reality. That there were people I couldn't convince. I'll never pick the perfect words, sentences, or paragraphs to be universally heard. There are no arguments rational, clear, or clever enough to permeate all minds. And I was only looking for that because my childhood wounding created a desperation for external validation. I still have an unmet need to be heard and understood, but until my break, I didn't realize it was insatiable. I was just never gonna have realistic expectations until I accepted that it's no one else's job to give me what my parents didn't. So now, I want to finally allow people to frame me as a problem. And I don't think I have the right to argue with them about why they shouldn't. My role in their journey is their business. As long as they don't, hurt me or stalk me, I guess. Unfortunately for me, the most valuable insight a lot of people are going to get from my content is not gonna be my intended message. It's just gonna be, this Lindsay person? This is a person I can't fucking stand. I get it, there are a lot of people I can't fucking stand too. So today, I'm here to announce that I am not a safe space for people I can't fucking stand. And I don't want to be. I want them to go away. It runs totally counter to my nature to tiptoe around people's triggers. I'm not even interested in covering a topic that just piggybacks off the mainstream narrative. If there's no chance I'll piss someone off, it feels like a goddamn waste of time. Whatever value I have to offer in this space does not come from my infinite patience. Just saying that is making me laugh. It's from having enough self-awareness to admit that I don't have very much. But I love and accept myself anyway. But I can't talk about what I learned on my break without talking about one free app. If you don't know what that is, OFA is a volunteer-based collaborative project founded by an intersectional neurodivergent community working toward building the most accessible, functional, and inclusive mutual aid network the world has ever seen. I helped found it, I named it, I still love it, but I quit. That was a situation where I really couldn't be like, fuck what they think. If OFA volunteers started to see me as a problem, I needed to solve that problem. I was going to talk to these people every day. And I liked them. And I still like them. So there is no shade or ill will. Don't see anything about what I'm about to say as anyone's fault. It's not a shoe's fault if it didn't fit right. OFA is a wonderful shoe. I'm just the wrong size. And width. And my feet are weird shaped in general. The point is, it's no one's fault. Okay, so when we started OFA, I knew we were taking a huge gamble. I knew it was a hugely ambitious project. I made it very clear to everyone I told about this that I understood I was going to have to weather serious storms to make this a reality. Because I thought we were going to be different. Because I thought I was different. Even if other people wanted to drop out, I knew I wouldn't. OFA represents the values I knew I would never stop fighting for. I thought I would happily take on whatever challenge that project threw at me. throwed. I was committed to never quitting under any circumstances. I made a big production out of it. I couldn't imagine it was possible for me to devote myself to a project this important to me and betray myself along the way. You can probably guess where this is going. Why would I commit to something that I had never done before I had even started it? I had never worked on anything like that in my life. I had not a fucking clue whether or not I could stick with it forever. This is why I don't understand why people have babies. All I knew was that I wanted to stop indulging my hyper-independent trauma response and be on a team. I was lonely. Specifically, I was desperate to feel supported. I wanted my safety to be in someone else's best interest. You know, because my parents' trauma. I wanted to finally feel like there were people who would give a shit if something bad happened to me. On my own, it felt like it didn't matter how many seats I filled in the proverbial TikTok auditorium. If I was alone on the stage, the slightest provocation made me feel like I was in danger. But there's an itty-bitty problem. I don't actually play well with others. I function way better on my own. I clashed with OFA because of my aggressive communication style, impulsivity, and impatience. We were all friendly. I left before that could change. But I pushed and rushed people, basically. So I was having trouble finding my place in it. But after I made such a fuss to everyone I know about how OFA was the most important thing in my life, I felt like I had to figure out how to get my shit under control. I could not give up. So I explored everything I could think of: trauma counseling, medication, somatic and polyvagal approaches, spirituality, EFT, TFT, DBT, R&R, so many acronyms, and buzzwords as well. All to transform myself into the kind of person who could always be patient, cool, calm, and collected. For the good of OFA. And maybe to finally get through to my parents, I don't know. You know, these were the purposes for me to be alive. Right? That's trauma brain. Here's the thing, though. I like being the way I am. I like cutting to the chase. I like being decisive and working fast. And there is work to be done in this world where it's good to be that way. I should be doing that. I totally respect that my personality was a little grating for some people over there. That's totally fair. But in the end, of course, what I really needed to pin down was what was right for me, not what version of me was right for them. I was so focused on what I thought I needed to do, I totally lost track of what I wanted to do. And I didn't want to have the challenges that one free app brought into my life. I didn't want to work that hard to be compatible with a community that needs me to work that hard to be compatible. And I knew they wouldn't want that for me either. It's the opposite of what OFA stands for. So I quit. Commitment isn't always noble. I would say there's a fine line between commitment and stubbornness, but functionally there isn't one. I wasn't committed to OFA as much as I was too stubborn to admit I got way too fired up way too fast. And I got that fired up because of ADHD, obviously, but also, as you remember, I was desperate for external validation. Desperate to have a team full of people who would validate me so I could bypass the real work of learning how to validate myself. So trauma recap, I couldn't validate myself because I didn't respect myself. And I didn't respect myself because I wasn't living up to my values. And I wasn't living up to my values because they were impossible to live up to. Because they required me to rise above trauma that hadn't and still hasn't healed. Trauma is a wound, just like a physical wound. It doesn't go away by pretending it isn't there or ignoring when it hurts. If we had a broken bone, we wouldn't say, I'm not gonna let this stop me, I'm gonna do bicep curls. All wounds are valid, and it behooves us to respect them as realities of our human meat sock. And you know what? If I have any duty at all on this planet, it's to my meat sock. Millions to billions of specific events had to happen exactly as they did for me to be sitting here. Here, right now, is the only time and place where this assortment of memories and flesh, what I call I, could possibly exist. So I'm gonna express this meat sock's truth, and a major part of loving myself is seeing that doing so is a noble pursuit. Claiming to have a more noble pursuit than that is just silly and conceited, because whatever idea I have of nobility is just an expression of the meat sock anyway. So now, in summation, I'm just gonna sit comfy on whatever my bullshit side is of every bullshit argument, and accept there's always a chance I'm gonna hurt people, and make mistakes I gotta learn from. I just gotta fucking relax. In this interconnected clusterfuck of a culture, there is no way to be authentic and dodge doing any damage. The universe is a perfect mess, and hurting others and being hurt are both inevitabilities of nature. So I'll be posting my trauma healing and neurodivergent content again on various platforms. Follow my shit, or don't. Do whatever you want. I do not work with brands or sponsors. I operate on donation and gifts only, so support would be nice if you feel so inclined. Thank you for listening. I am so grateful to each and every one of you. This is the end of the video. End transmission.